Good morning. Welcome to day 3 of Purpose Driven Church. Today we're going to look at the next section as actually chapter 1, the Saddleback story. So basically Rick Warren is now taking some time to share about the context around how and why they started Saddleback and the process through which it grew. And there's way too much information here for me to summarize very easily. You're going to have to read it if you want to know more details. But he does make some really great points that I want to just share real quick. He says, you might be tempted to copy things we did without considering the context. Please do not do this. Instead, look beneath the methods to see the transferable principles on which they are based. So he's really saying, that you can look at, Saddleback has been so successful, we should copy what they've done. But that would be a big mistake. Fundamentally, we need to look at the motivating force behind which they tried to do things and the principles that they put into action. Because he shares in here that they made so many mistakes, but because they were following certain principles, they were constantly able to adjust and try new things and learn from those mistakes. And that's just a natural part of any church growth. He says that every large church started off as a small church, and no church becomes large without struggling through years of problems, setbacks, and failures. For example, Saddleback met for 15 years before being able to build our first building. This factor alone helped shape our strategy of reaching, retaining, and growing believers in Christ. It kept our focus on people and created a church culture very open to change. He also talks a lot. Yeah, he talks a lot about his mistakes. He talks a lot about his early inspiration from wanting to become a pastor, how he felt that God was leading him to ministry and then eventually to pastoring a local church. He also talks about how at one point in his life he really wanted to study the principles behind success and failure of churches, and so he kind of embarked on his own study to research the largest 100 Christian churches in the world, which of course at that time wasn't so easy. You couldn't just look it up on the internet. So he did a lot of research, and he did a lot of he sent questionnaires to all these churches and communications with them, and he found that one of the major factors in a church being able to grow and become, I guess, so-called a megachurch, is that, well, I'll just read it here. Healthy, large churches are led by pastors who have been there a long time. I found dozens of examples. A long pastorate does not guarantee a church will grow, but changing pastors every few years guarantees a church won't grow. He says he kind of compares it to a situation where you have a family and the parents are changing every few years, how that would leave serious emotional scars with the children. And also, he doesn't mention this, but I think a business too. If a business is constantly changing leadership, then people become confused about what they're trying to accomplish. Different leadership oftentimes brings different values and different priorities. He says, in the same way, the longevity of the leadership is a critical factor for the health and growth of a church family. Long pastorates make deep, trusting, and caring relationships possible. Without those kinds of relationships, a pastor won't accomplish much of lasting value. And we found that ourselves personally, even though we've only been here for 3 years, we found that the value of what we're doing really comes in developing those deep, long-term relationships. The ones where like the really, I mean, it's not just the seeing each other on Sunday and giving you a hug. I mean, that's very surface level. But where the real movement happens and the real inspiration happens comes through the time that's spent outside of church. So it also says here that the pastor may want to start all sorts of new projects, but the members will be reticent because they will be the ones having to live with the consequences long after the pastor has moved from one church, moved to another church. So, I mean, we see that a lot in our movement, right? In terms of our movement, our whole church structure is almost based around the idea that leadership is not dependable, and church elders and councils and structures almost expect that a person, whether they're an older member or a younger member, is either going to get transferred away or is going to lose drive or get discouraged and give up. And so people are almost expecting that. I'd say more than almost. And almost from the beginning, when people come to become the pastor, people are preparing for when that pastor is going to leave. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of the way things are. Until people can really show that until leaders can come who are really committed to investing in for the long run, and then people are, will become more willing to trust and go with long-term commitments because they know that that person or those people are committed for the long term as well. So when Rick Warren realized this, he made a prayer and he asked God, I am willing to go anywhere in the world you want to send me, but I ask for the privilege of investing my entire life in just one location. I don't care where you put me, but I'd like to stay wherever it is for the rest of my life. So I think that's really amazing that a person could even make that kind of commitment so early in his life and really stick with that commitment years and years later. But it's really a testament to his accomplishment and God working through his efforts there. So it's just food for thought. Um, I think that's very meaningful insights, and it's definitely was a factor when Adonia and I were really considering, how much are we really committed to making a difference in our local community, and how much real commitment do we have to make? How much real time do we really honestly need to commit? So that is what I have for today. I look forward to talking again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.